really proud of this team. It was a huge win, and you got to give Oregon a lot of credit because they, without a really true post, they do a really good job of spreading you and forcing you to play all over the court because they got so many guys that can make threes. And I thought the guys made some really good adjustments at halftime. Both teams were hot through the first 20, and both offenses were working pretty well. And I thought in the second half we really defended. To hold them to 34% shooting in the second half, 23 points. We really did a good job on the backboard. This was the #1 and #2 ranked offensive rebounding teams in the league. And I thought we did a really good job, especially after about the first 10 minutes. First 10 minutes is where they had a lot of their second shots. But at the last 30, I thought we did a really good job on the backboard, and that was a big key for us.
You mentioned their perimeter shooting early on. What kind of adjustments did you make to limit their three-point opportunities? Well,
I thought we were over-helping, which that's a good thing because there's been early in the season we didn't do much helping. So now we're getting to the point maybe where we're going overboard, and I thought in the first 10 minutes we did a lot of over-helping and Bassett got away from us. They got some loose balls, they got some second shots, they hurt us on OBs. So really at halftime, that's what we talked about. The little things, kind of like the special teams in basketball. OBs, out of timeouts, free throw situations. They were getting some easy looks that way. And so the guys did a good job with that, and we just didn't want to overhelp. We thought we could defend the drive with minimal help, not overhelp. And that's really the only adjustment that we made. And then we put Norm on Young in the second half. He's hard to guard with one guy the whole game. And so we made some adjustments. We put Norm on him a little bit, and we got him in foul trouble. I thought we wanted to drive it, we wanted to post it, and we did a really good job. Points in the paint, if this is right, it's 34-16. And you tell me before the game, I'll take that. Or we can get them by almost 20 points in the paint. That's probably going to favor us. So I thought we did a good job of getting them in foul trouble.
You guys had some trouble closing out teams early on in the season. In this one, it seemed like even when they made a run, you guys made a run back to keep the lead in the second half. What does that say about where you guys are?
Well, I hope we're growing and maturing. I hope that's taking place. I felt it for the last 2.5, 3 weeks. And maybe even longer than that. There was a speed bump because of Tony's absence for 2 games, and that may not. You can just say, well, you got to deal with it. Yeah, we got to deal with it, but that's big. When we don't have Tony Parker for 2 games and the road games, that's hard to deal with. But when you look at him, I don't know, Alex, the last, 7 out of the last 9 games, maybe, if I'm right, we've had Tony, and we've played really well in those games. And he makes such a difference for us. He only got 4 shots tonight, but he had a presence to him. And so I hope there's a maturity level that's happening with this team. That they obviously trust each other. They know each other a little bit better. We're taking better shots. I can't remember what we shot in the, I think Oregon State, we were 43, 45, 46%. Tonight we're 50. We're making free throws. So hopefully it's a team that's maturing a little bit.
Steve, a lot of people before the season looked at this team and said, how is this team going to hold up with all the minutes that you're going to have to ask some of the starters to play?
Exactly.
Are you pleased with the way they have held up, and how is that? What's the process been?
Yeah, it's been really good, and I wish I'd have gotten Noah in the second half. We ended up running with Isaac and Bryce and Norman. We played it out with them. All 3 of them played the last 20 minutes. It's not something I want to do, and I think Noah's been doing a lot of good things. So it wasn't anything that Noah didn't do. It's just I liked our rhythm. I didn't want to all of a sudden sub. We pretty much had a 6 to 7 point lead that whole second half, and I ended up rolling with it, and they could never really cut into I think 5 was about as close as they got. So we just ran with it that way, and we're seeing guys like Isaac, like Bryce, and Norman being able to play. They're learning how to play 35, 36, 37 minutes. Bryce was at 40, and I think Isaac was at 40 tonight. So I didn't get them much break, but we also knew that we're done at 2 o'clock. We got all today, the rest of the day. We got all day tomorrow's a day off before we do this final road trip. We don't meet again until Monday at 1. So we're getting almost 48 hours off here, so we decided just to roll with it. But I do think the guys are managing their minutes much better now.
Did Norman want to establish himself a little bit more after having kind of a quiet game against Oregon State?
You know what? Norman's been really consistent, so we wanted him established, and I think he knew that And we tried to help him after the Oregon State game, and then, okay, you had an off night, but look what your teammates did. You had a double-figure win. With you not having one of your better games, that should even build more trust that you have for your teammates. And Norman's been such a good leader, and he's been such a mature individual for us this year. And he's had many more games like he had tonight than what he had against Oregon State. So, but establishing him and getting him driving the basketball, that's something that really helps our basketball team, and he did a good job with that tonight.
You guys have had good series at home and then went on the road and struggled for 2 games. Is this as confident as you've been heading into a road trip that you know the team can at least mentally?
Yeah, and we were very confident going into the Bay Area trip. Very confident. And I think we played that way. You know, we played really well against Stanford, and I thought we played. You know, after watching tape, we had a really good 40 minutes against Cal. We just didn't close it when we were up 60-55. But that's a hot team right now. They're playing extremely well, and in their building that's difficult. But for a young team, and they've been through it now. You know, they've been through some of the wars, and obviously they got one more tough road trip ahead of them here before we get back home. But we're playing better on the road. You know, if you look at how we started the season at Utah and at Colorado, our first league road games, those weren't very good. I still really don't put a lot into the Oregon State trip, although I have to, but we were playing really well, and boom, our center's gone. So we had to really on the fly do a lot of different things, and that wasn't a good trip. But the Bay Area trip was a good trip. At USC was a good road trip. Now we got to hope that this is a good trip in the Arizonas, because we are playing well, and we're going to play 2 good teams on their floors, and it's not going to be easy, but it's a trip we need success on.
Talking about the guys managing minutes, how do they do that? What types of things do they avoid in order to?
I think it's just the experience. I don't think it's avoiding anything. I think like early on in the season, it shocks their system that they're out there that long. You're looking at Isaac didn't play last year. Bryce played 23 minutes, 24 minutes last year. Norman was around 23, 24 minutes last year. Tony was at 18 minutes last year. Kavan wasn't here. So you got 5 starters that are playing, you know, 3 of them are playing 35 plus, so that's about 10, 12 more minutes than they're used to in different roles. And then 2 new guys that didn't play at all last year happen to play a lot of minutes. So it just takes some time. So, and they got to learn. I think there was probably shock in the beginning of the season. Middle of the season, it becomes, can I pace myself here or there? And you can't do that. You got to play at a high level all the time, and now they're learning to do that. Now you go in our locker room, they're exhausted. And they need a day off. They need rest because they've had 2 games now in the week, and it depends on your schedule. There were some times during the non-conference where they're playing a lot of road games. You're playing the Bahamas 3 games in 3 nights. That gets hard. You know, once we got into conference season, we knew it was going to be two games a week, and you can kind of manage how you practice, and you can manage that rest a little bit better. You get a little bit more consistent with it than you are in the non-league.
Did you have a good view of Norman's dunk?
Yes, I did. You know, I was on TV with him afterwards, and a Big Ten buddy was asking him the question about it, and I was shocked that, you know, Norman or Jackson, either one of them thought that Norm learned that from me. I have no idea how. I didn't know if it was behind the back dribble he didn't learn, the between the leg dribble he didn't learn, or if it was the dunk he didn't learn. The latter I get, but at least I could go behind my back between the leg. But that's Norman. He's Sports Center. You know, he does that. There's one of those a game, and that one, that move there was as good as it's been all year long as far as a Sports Center type of play. That's a little different. What to look at that is how we teach splitting in the pick and roll, because I've never seen the pick and roll split like that. That was impressive.
When you talked about the minutes, if this game had been the first game of the 2 weekends, then you would not have had these players play the lengthy minutes, most likely?
If what now?
If this game had been the first of the 2 games this week?
You know, I think the only difference in the minutes tonight, where Bryce and Isaac played 40, I don't have that in front of me, but I would assume both of those guys played 36, 37 on Wednesday night. So we did very little on Thursday. We got a light lift, a lot of film. Friday we practiced for 1 hour as hard and as crisp and as sharp as we could get, and did a lot of film. No, my point is, I don't think that would have a difference. I think the difference is you get set in. You know, we had a lot of Thursday, Saturday games. Now all of a sudden it's Wednesday, Saturday. So you get in a routine of where you can take your days off and you manage your minutes in practice more than anything else. And we said it about 3 weeks ago, getting Jonah getting Juana back, that helps with our practice because now guys aren't getting beat up more out in practice. And we got to get, for a young team, you got to keep practicing to keep getting better. And I think that's what's, when we added Jonah and Juana got back with us, that really helped our practices because now guys can get rest in practice, but we can still practice hard to get better. And I think we've gotten better in practice. It just hadn't happened. Our guys have really worked hard in practice to get better.
When you guys are rebounding like that, does that kind of get them out of transition? Seems like when they get in the flow, they can do that.
Well, I hope so. You know, that's been a strength of ours. You know, if we've got an identity, one of our identities is how we board. You know, if you look at stats, I think we're the best offensive rebounding team in the league. And overall, we're a really good rebounding team. So, you know, we've rebounded the ball pretty consistently all year long. And that's been a positive. I think our guards do a good job rebounding. When you've got one of the best rebounders in the country in Looney, that's helped. Our bigs rebound. So, but that helps with our transition defense. But I think our transition defense has been improving because our shot selection is improving. Over the last 3 weeks, we're getting much better shots. We're working the basketball. We're trusting one another. And I think that's been the biggest difference to our transition defense. Okay, thank you.